All right, greetings everyone. So we're 8 minutes in to trade number 7 for the 2X project on QUOTEX, phase 2. This is with a starting balance of $390. So I'm just getting on, and you guys have been watching the observation that I've been doing up to now. Keeping my eye on this CAD yen, which actually looks very good as far as behavior, and the movement is stable. You guys by now should know that I never just jump into trades, even when I see that the movement and the behavior are in alignment and stable. Instead, what I do is I observe, I continue to wait, and I like to confirm that the market indeed is presenting solid behavior and stability of movement before I ultimately commit to entering into a trade. So, yes, I'm sure that there are many of you, many times, who are watching and you're thinking to yourself, oh, wow, that looked good. Why didn't he take that one? And it's because I'm not concerned about trade selection. One of the things that I mentioned in yesterday's video, which is very powerful, is that trade selection is simply you choosing a direction for the trade. That's all it is. A trade is simply the direction that you choose. And as long as the market ends in that direction beyond the point that you click in, because wherever you click in is where the strike price for that trade will be. So literally, as long as the market ends in the direction of the trade that you selected beyond the strike price that you clicked in at, you're going to be profitable on that trade. So this is not about just simply picking a trade and hoping that the trade works. This is way more about truly gaining an understanding of the market's movement so that when you do click into a trade, you know the outcome of the movement because the market is presenting stable movement at the time. You also know the outcome because you know what cycle of behavior that the market is also in. So between the two of those things, which is the behavior cycle that the market's in and the movement that the market has at the time, when you put those two things together and then you select your trade is much more likely to be profitable because you've waited and you've given the market enough time to ultimately develop into stable movement and also create a cycle for the behavior that it is in. Now, I'm aware that many of you who are new and also many of you who are not in my training don't know what a lot of the terminology is that I use. You don't know the meaning of it. You know, like when I say cycle of behavior, you probably have no idea what I'm referring to. But I mean, the cycle is just simply something that's repeating itself, and behavior is the way that the market is moving at the time. So the cycle of behavior that we want is just simply stable movement. That's what the cycle is. Stable movement. Now that can manifest in either direction. So in other words, it doesn't necessarily have to be consecutive red or consecutive blue candles. They can be opposite color candles, but it creates a cycle of behavior for those candles. See, and I don't want to go too much into that. I want to focus mainly on how to identify stability of the movement, because regardless of who you are and regardless of how you trade, I don't care who you are, you never trade with the intention of the market moving against the direction that you have selected. You don't go into the trade saying, oh, well, I want the market to move against me first and then go in my favor. You don't enter your trades that way. And you don't enter your trades with that expectation. So since that is the case, clearly you do not want to be in the market when it's not stable, because that behavior that I just described, where the market moves against your position first and then in your favor, that is what is called instability. It's what I call reversal energy, because the market is not moving with intent in one direction and remaining wherever it moves. So therefore, that's not stable movement. If the market is moving up first, for example, and then down, you know what that looks like through the candles activity. When you see a wick on a candle and the wick is a different color than the body of the candle, then you know that there's unstable movement present, to the point where it actually moved in one direction first and then it ended completely in the opposite direction. And none of you ever want to be in a trade where you knew beforehand that the market was behaving that way. You see? So one of two things is happening. Either you don't know that the market is behaving that way, or you don't care and you're entering a trade anyway. Those are the only two reasons why you would enter when reversal energy is present. Either you don't know or you don't care. So for, I would say 99% of you, you don't know. You're not aware that the market actually has that reversal energy in it. And you're just entering your trades based on whatever you have identified as far as direction goes. Because again, when you're trading these binaries, what you're doing is you're selecting a direction. You see, I mean, look at what your two choices are over here on the right, up or down. That's it. So you're selecting that the market will remain up above whatever point you click in at, or down below whatever point you click in at. See, you're not entering the trade hoping that the market goes against your direction at all, right? Am I right or wrong? You don't enter trades that way, and you don't enter trades with the expectation that that will happen. So therefore, it is much better for you to focus your attention on how the market is moving. Why? Because if you observe the market, you'll see if it has reversal energy present or if it has stable movement. If reversal energy is present and you detect that, that right there simply means to stay out of the market completely. If you're able to see beforehand that the market is not stable, it means you need to stay out of the market. See, and that right there is the discipline that the majority of people don't have, because people will try to force their way into a trade because they think that their trade selection is the reason that they're going to win the trade. Meaning, okay, I see the market going up, so I'm buying. Well, it's not just enough for the market to be going up. The market reacts at certain points. The market can have reversal energy in it that you don't see yet. There can be reversal energy that you're not paying attention to. So there's a number of things that can be taking place. And basically, if you are unaware or you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. You see, that's the difference. So it makes way more sense for you to observe the market and become familiar with market movement before you start entering into trades. Because what that will do is it will help you to know before you take a trade whether the market is stable or not. And that will determine what the outcome of your trade is going to be. Because if you enter during a time when the market is not stable, or during a time where the market is going to react and then become unstable, what it means is that if you're in a trade, your trade is now subjected to that behavior, instability. And if your trade is subjected to that, it means that you could potentially lose because the market could move in the opposite direction of the trade that you selected. And that's never what you want, right? Never. Because it means that you could lose that trade. So you see how I'm helping to simplify all of this for you so that you don't put so much importance on selecting a trade, but you're actually putting more importance on identifying and interpreting the market's movement. The trade comes secondary to that. And in fact, in addition to identifying the movement, you're also identifying the cycle of the behavior that is present as well. Because the market could be stable, but the market could be stable in one direction 1 minute and then pivot and turn into the opposite direction the next with the same stable movement present. And this is where behavior cycles come in. So you hear me talking about multiple things and making references. And this is because I'm educating you and I'm informing you. I'm keeping you aware of the things that the market does, not trades. Trades are only doing what the market is doing. See, that's the part that you guys have to understand. Your trade is simply the direction you chose. but your trade is subjected to the market itself. What about the market? The movement. So you really need to understand the movement, because if you don't, you won't understand why a trade won or a trade lost. And if you don't understand why, you are in deep trouble, because it means that you'll never be in position to actually enter into trades with confidence, knowing beforehand what the outcome of the movement is going to be, because you've given the market enough time through your observation to develop. You've given the market time to develop what? Stability. Stability is what is going to win your trades for you. Instability is what will put your trades at risk. Does that make sense? And I'm asking, but I'm really not asking. I'm more so telling you. It makes a hell of a lot of sense. And this is why I'm doing this video series. This is why I keep giving the commentary, either during or after the trade or whatever the case may be. Either during the observation or after the trade, you'll hear me give commentary. And it really just depends on what I'm seeing in the market that triggers the conversation. But this is powerful stuff that I'm telling you. And this is stuff that you need to know. It's not optional information. Like, this is not stuff that you can afford to not understand. You need to know that you need to understand the movement first before you trade. I don't care what you're trading. Oh, but Mark, it's about trade selection. No, it's not. Trade selection is simply you choosing a direction at the current time. So like if you click up or down over here, that's you saying, okay, I believe the market is going to move this way at the end of this 1 minute period. At the end of the next 60 seconds, I believe the market is going to end higher or end lower. So is it that you're trying to predict the movement? No, because you can't predict movement, but you can identify what the movement is doing and how it is taking place. And that how is going to be the reason why your trade will ultimately win, because you're only going to be entering a trade when the movement is stable. See, I mean, like, do you realize how powerful that is? I'm even explaining what instability looks like in a candle. The wicks. The wicks. When you see the wicks, you know the market went in the opposite direction of the color first. So for example, this is a red candle here with a wick on the top. If it's a red candle, it means it ended lower. But if there's a wick on the top, it means it went up first. So if you're selling at the beginning of this candle, for example, what this is telling you is that the market went up first, and then it came down after it ended lower. See? So the question becomes, well, do you want to be in trades with that type of behavior present? And of course, the answer is no. You don't want to be in a trade where it goes against you first. And you're sitting there watching and you're hoping that it goes back in your direction. No one wants to be in a trade like that. So therefore, you have to what? You have to wait. Wait for what? Wait for that behavior to stop. Wait for that behavior to slow down. And wait for stability of movement ultimately to develop. Because when the market is stable, that means that when it moves within its cycle, it will move in that cycle with stable movement. And that is very powerful, because now it means that you'll know the outcome of the movement before you enter the trade. And if you know the outcome of the movement, you'll know the outcome of your trade, because you chose to trade during a time when you were aware of the outcome of the market's movement. All right, I'm going back on silent. I'll continue this observation, and we'll see what develops. All right, y'all sit tight.
She like the way I like a Mary, like a Mary. Billie Jean, Billie Jean.
All right. Apologize for that. I was playing some music in the background. So this is probably the first time that you guys have witnessed me enter 3 times on the same pair in the same market and basically just trade in the opposite direction of the initial two entries. Now, remember that in every instance of, excuse me, when we're doing an observation, we're monitoring behavior. To be honest, I actually should have waited longer because the behavior here overall was still not stable. And when you have the movement not as stable as it should be, exactly what happened to me just now, twice, is what could potentially happen. On the fly, I was able to see that the actual cycle that's present was more dominant than the actual behavior. So this is what led to me ultimately entering for the third time. That's not something that, of course, I recommend that anyone does. And, you know, I would not recommend that anyone do that, period. There's really no need to do it. And to be honest, I actually had to leave. So I probably was thinking more in terms of just finishing things up and, you know, not even looking for any other opportunity because I didn't want to wait. So you guys got a chance to see what it looks like when you start to kind of rush things a little bit. And it's not that I was rushing because I was very clear and confident with what I wanted to do. And I already knew beforehand what I would do if this right here took place on the second entry. Like I knew what I was going to do already. And that's exactly what I did. I just acted on it and I executed. Now, the lesson from this is to train, because a lot of you who are not in training don't know what a behavior cycle is. And you don't know how that ties into the stability of the movement in the market. A behavior cycle can be more dominant than unstable movement. Many times it is. Many instances of a behavioral cycle, you're entering and you're actually expecting the market to move in the opposite direction of where it was moving. And I know that that sounds weird, but again, this is why I offer training, because there's so many different aspects and facets that you can learn and will learn. But the dominant thing that you're learning is how to wait for stability. And I'm actually glad I did this because I want you to see what it looks like, and I want to take you through the emotional roller coaster that you'll go through when you don't wait for the market to develop into full stability. And I mean, it was pretty obvious, you know, on this particular pair. And what's funny is that I actually wanted to enter on this candle. But as I observed, you know, I just assumed that the market would continue, and it did not continue. What did it do? It pivoted. It didn't necessarily reverse because there's momentum present, but there's also unstable movement present, and there are cycles present. So you have behavior cycles that are present here. And, you know, anyone in training knows exactly what I'm referring to. You got a behavior cycle present. You have unstable movement present, and you have momentum present. So it's like, well, wow, what do you do with those things? Well, the first thing that you want to do is wait for the market to stabilize fully, because when the market stabilizes fully, you don't have to concern yourself with what to do in that same particular market. You just wait for another market to stabilize. And then you take your subsequent entry if the first one didn't work. But again, here I knew exactly what I was going to do in each instance. I knew what I was going to do if the first one didn't work. I knew what I was going to do if the second one did not work. And I was very clear and I was very confident. And it worked out, which I'm not going to say it always works out because I usually don't even have to go as far as the third entry. That's probably the second time that you guys have seen me take a third entry since I've been doing this project. But in any case, again, I want you guys to take the lesson away. Don't look at the things that you see me doing, especially when I'm re-entering. Don't look at that and then say to yourself, oh, well, Mark does this. Mark does a lot of things that he is clear with why he's doing. And of course, I'm utilizing my understanding of how the market moves. I'm utilizing my understanding of how the market has behavioral cycles. I'm utilizing my understanding of all of the market movement to make my decisions ultimately. And because of that, my confidence level is going to be where it needs to be. Period. So I'm never going to hesitate. I'm prepared and I'm ready to take action when the time comes. And that's how you have to train and condition yourself to be. This is why training is so important, so that you're not all over the place. You got to know exactly what your plan of action is based on what you're doing at the time. And like I said, I knew exactly what my plan of action was and I acted on it, and that's it. So again, this is not about trades. Oh, well, Mark, I saw you take a trade. Listen, I'm explaining to you why I did what I did at the time. It didn't have anything to do with the trades. It had more to do with what the market was doing. And in fact, it had everything to do with what the market was doing, just like it always does. All right. So anyway, I got to get out of here. I will see you guys on the next one. This trade represents trade number 7. This is the 2X project on QUOTEX. This is the second phase with the 390 starting balance, and that's trade number 7 in the bag. All right, so I will see you guys on the next one. Y'all know what it is. Love, peace, and soul.